Participants are in listen-only mode.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to this Point Beyond webinar on digital signatures and Nintex workflows. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping things to say. We will be recording this webinar, so I wanted to make you aware of that, and we will also make the recording available afterwards to attendees. We're also using GoToMeeting, and using this tool you have the option to post questions in the window, which you should see to the right hand side of your screen. Please do feel free to ask questions as we go along, and we shall be answering those at the end. So we'll introduce ourselves in a second. I just want to start off by saying I'm really very excited about the solutions that we're going to be looking at and presenting today. It's a great example of no-code based solutions, and I think a very exciting place where we're combining three really great ideas. The idea of delivering workflows very quickly, including digital signatures, and finally no-code approach to delivering solutions, which, as some people may know, I'm very passionate about. Right, let's just introduce ourselves. So my name is Ian Woodgate. I'm the Managing Director of Point Beyond. I should be talking through some slides today, and I'm joined by my colleague Dan Fowle.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dan Fowle. I'm a consultant at Point Beyond, and I'll be taking you through the demo we've put together today.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'm also very pleased to say that we're also being joined by Ronan Lavelle from ARX. They're the digital signature solution provider that we're going to be demonstrating today. Ronan is here sitting in the background. He's on standby and available to answer any questions about the digital signature solution that people may have in particular. But I wanted to start off by showing one core reason why I think this stuff that we're looking is worth looking at, and I think this is really key. This is not complicated stuff. You can deliver a solution that is fast, that is flexible, and key, that it delivers tangible benefit to your organization. There's been a lot of research done, and I'm just summarizing some of it on this screen. And the highlight figure here is 81% of organizations that deploy digital signature solutions reach an ROI in less than 12 months. So you can do this stuff quickly. You can start getting benefits today. It doesn't have to be a lengthy and complex project. It's almost a no-brainer, right, for a lot of organizations. The technology is mature. It's easy to use. Why wouldn't you want to do this stuff? You can lower your administrative overhead. You can get faster process completion times, and also for a lot of organizations, the key environmental benefits, less paper being used. All of that, plus, as we've already said, a fantastic ROI. So our agenda for today is really quite straightforward. I'm going to talk just through a few slides, and then the bulk of the session is actually going to be on a demonstration. And we're going to be demonstrating Nintex workflow and digital signature solution, which is ARX cosign, and showing how well those integrate together. And Dan will be walking you through that demo. I'm then going to say a few closing words about how we can add our digital signatures to our workflows and the benefits that that's going to deliver, and then we'll have the question and answer session at the end. Right, so let's start off with why we don't like paper-based processes, and I think it's worth recapping that to start off with. So paper-based processes that we're all familiar with, they're slow, they're inefficient, they're error-prone, they're a waste of paper. And if you stop and think about it, the common scenario that everyone does, right, is you get a document in email, you print it off, you sign it, you scan it, you email it back. I mean, this is 2014. That's kind of crazy, right? Why would we want to do that? And it's a real hassle. And if you've got a process that's involving several people doing that, that whole process of adding, printing, scanning, signing, sending back, can add days and days to your processes and to getting your business processes completed. And not only that, you end up with a great pile of paperwork at the end, which either has to be destroyed or stored somewhere, and that's yet more cost. So some great statistics on this slide that I like. Adding 65% of organizations say that it takes more than 1 day for their processes just to collect the signatures. And if that's an order or something that's going to bring cash benefit to your organization, then it's slowing your business down. Most people print documents or 48% of people, almost half, print their documents just to add signatures. So the only reason they're printing stuff out is to add signatures. So we don't like paper-based processes. We want to improve things. What do we want to do? What we want to do is we want to eradicate paper from our business. Now it's a long touted aspiration of the paperless office. And can we have the paperless office? Well, probably not. But we can at least move a long way towards that if we automate our processes and we include digital signatures in those processes. And if we do all that in a no-code way, we can do it very quickly and at very low risk and deliver some real benefits very quickly. So some examples on this slide of the kind of processes that I'm talking about. They could be key business processes like order to cash, but also within departments there are a huge number of processes that are candidate for this kind of treatment. So take, for example, HR, where you might have employee onboarding, people having to sign contracts of employment, or perhaps finance, where you need purchase orders to be signed off, and so forth and so on. The example, Dan, you're going to give today is an HR scenario, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. It's we've done a lot of work with the finance industry, and one thing we know they have to do every year is a anti-money laundering check. And that's something that all members of staff have to do. They all have to sign a document to say that they comply with the procedures, and we're going to show you a way that we can automate that.
Brilliant. So I think I said HR, actually I meant finance.
Oh,
so
sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're going to be showing an example of a departmental process for a finance department today. And of course, when you think about things like legal, procurement, signing contracts with suppliers and so forth and so on, tracking them, getting approved, etc., etc. Huge amount of paper typically flying around, huge amount of emails with scanned attachments flying around. So our aim is to improve our processes, to do it quickly and simply using a no-code approach, digital signatures and automated workflows, reduce the amount of paper, be able to have our processes operating more quickly and more efficiently. So that's great, but what does the ideal digital signature solution actually look like? And I think there's really kind of 4 key aspects to digital signatures, focusing on those in a little bit more detail for a second. The first is that you need to be able to sign multiple file types, and so documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDF, and so forth and so on. Because you can't guarantee the kind of document that you're going to be working with. Some of the work we've been doing actually is quite interesting, where we actually have automatically generated documents, and then we send those out for signing. The next thing to be aware of is that users don't really want to have another login and another sign-in username, password just to do their digital signatures. So if you've got a solution that integrates with your Active Directory and can use your existing Active Directory credentials to sign documents, then that's a real win as well. And the ARX co-sign solution that we're going to be demonstrating in a minute certainly fulfills that aim. The next area is that we want to be able to sign documents very easily, and also to have multiple signatures within a single document. So you can imagine perhaps a document that needs multiple levels of approval, and you might have a sign-off by a manager and then by a director. We need to be able to support multiple signatures within that document. And lastly, we want a system that's going to be flexible enough to integrate with systems that you've got already. So whether that's SharePoint or other systems, your CRM system or whatever, you want to be able to interact and communicate with those systems. And certainly by using a tool like Nintex, that gives you the facility to be able to do that very easily. Okay, so as I've already mentioned, the solution that we're demonstrating today is ARX. So we're very pleased to have Ronan on the panel. And Ronan, we've actually stolen your signature here as well, I'm afraid, for this. So it's the solution we're looking at integrated with Nintex is co-sign from ARX. Now, I won't go into the technology in a great deal of detail, but it's important to understand that this is much more than actually putting an image of somebody's signature onto a document. Okay, it's not just like taking a JPEG or a GIF or something and inserting that on top of the document. It actually is digitally signing the content with a certificate, which means that that document is then cannot be changed without that signature being invalidated, and it also means that the signature is legally binding. And one of the great things about the ARX solution is that the number of standards that it supports is pretty huge. So let's just take a quick look at that. So I'm not going to go through all these or attempt even to explain what they are, but the key here is that digital signatures support compliance with a lot of regulations, even, as you can see, in some of the most tightly regulated industries, such as finance. Okay, so I hope that's given a little kind of introduction and a little bit of positioning. We're now going to move on to the demo. I'm going to allow Dan to spend a few minutes just explaining the scenario that he's going to present, and then we'll actually switch over to the demo and we'll talk you through it. So Dan, if you'd like to just explain the scenario, and then we'll move on to the demo.
Yeah, so our scenario is we've got an anti-money laundering policy, and each year every single member of the firm needs to fill out a form that says they comply with the policy. So in the past, in our imaginary company, they would have sent this out by internal mail. If you've got lots of different offices, it would have become a bit of an administrative nightmare. Someone's got to be responsible for chasing all these people to sign their documents. Someone's got to collate it, put them back together and send them off to someone else. If there's any problems with it, they then have to resend the document for signatures. It's a really drawn out process for something that should be, in this day and age, very simple. So what we've done is we've created a solution in SharePoint using Cosign Connector for Nintex workflows, which allows us to quickly put together some workflow processes that allow us to automate the signatures of these documents, which go out to the employee and then go on to the money laundering reporting officer to check each one and say that he confirms that it's all okay. This is something that's done manually in the past, but I'll show you how easy it is to set up a workflow and use the Cosign connector from Nintex to do this automatically.
Thanks very much, Dan. And I think perhaps also worth mentioning that although we're demonstrating signing of money laundering policies, the same kind of workflow and digital signature-driven approach could be used for a wide range of business processes, whether it's contracts with staff or suppliers, or whether it's new policies or any kind of approval processes where somebody needs to actually sign something off.
Yeah, exactly. The solution I've done, you could even extend it out so that you could have it as a sort of document signing engine, and you could just feed multiple templates into it and use it for lots of different processes using the workflow and the connector. It can be quite versatile, quite easy to do this for a number of different things at once.
Great stuff. Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
Should we take a look?
Yeah, let's have a look. In fact, I'll show you one thing quickly before we do that. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. What we've got here, this is sort of a follow-on from some of the stuff you said in your slides. We've put together a calculator. So this is a Nintex form-based calculator that you can access via our blog. I think we'll send out a link to our blog in the email following on from this presentation. And what that does is it gives you access to this calculator, which lets you work out how much physical signatures are actually costing your company. And it's a good way of it's quite surprising really how much it can cost. All the different information in here you can change. So you can say you've got 100 employees, how many signatures they do, and it will automatically calculate the cost per page. So we've got archiving, printing, scanning, and it will give you a total per document, a total for the company per month and per year. And you can see how easy it is to justify putting in a digital signature solution. And as you said in the presentation, 81% of people returning a return on investment within 12 months is pretty spectacular. So if you want to fill in your details and request information, we could follow up on that. So
yeah, a really nice form. Quite a nice demo of Nintex forms there as well, then.
Yeah, it does, and we've used that in this as well. Okay, so what we've got here is a basic SharePoint 2013 site. It's a total no-code solution. We've just used out-of-the-box functionality of Nintex workflows, Cosign, and the Cosign connector from Nintex. So what I've done is I've created a few listen libraries down the left-hand side. We've got a library for the policy documents. So once we've kicked off this workflow to generate this, it's going to fire individual documents for each user into this library. And we can see that because we've installed Cosign, we've got a few signature fields that we can automatically pull into the library. I didn't have to do any custom work to create these. They're available once we've got the product installed. Okay, what we've also got is a list of employees. Now I think this is a real benefit. We can maintain a list of employees that we want this to go out to within the SharePoint site, but you can also imagine that you could look up directly in AD. In fact, the Nintex workflow has got an LDAP lookup, so you could maybe direct this at a particular OU within your Active Directory, or you could maintain a list within the site. And with SharePoint, you can go into a quick edit view, which is effectively like an Excel spreadsheet, and you can copy and paste all your users into this very easily. So what we've done here allows you to kick off a workflow once. We're going to query this list, and we're going to create documents for each of the individuals listed as active in this list. We don't have to kick off multiple workflows. You don't have to post this out to multiple people. It's going to be very simple to set up and create. Okay. So when we've created these documents, we're also going to be creating tasks for each individual to go off and sign the document. When they've signed their document, it's going to go off to the reporting officer to check.
And I guess, Dan, we could be sending them emails as well, saying you've got this document to sign and a click through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For this demo, I've just done it with tasks because it's nice and straightforward.
I mean, that's the beauty of Nintex, is you can tweak that very easily, the workflow, to do exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got an admin list here. So this is where I've created my document templates, and we've got a workflow sat behind this that is going to look at the type of the employee list and take this template and create one for each of the individuals listed. I've already run this, so we can see that previously it had been 5 forms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick off this workflow, and as I kick it off, I can show you the steps involved. So I've created a workflow, an Nintex workflow, set up documents for signing. I'm going to click on this, and if you're familiar with Nintex workflow, you'll see this gives you a graphical view of your workflow. This is also the kind of look and feel you get when you're actually designing the workflow. So it's very straightforward to set up. It's a lot easier than out-of-the-box SharePoint Designer workflows. So you can see we're doing a lookup on the employee list, and then within Nintex workflows we can actually run loops. So we can say, let's look up in that list and let's build a collection of users, so effectively just a list of our users, and then for each individual in that list we're going to extract some information about them. We're going to create a document in that library I showed you, and then this is important as well, we can actually set the permissions as the document is put in the library. So this is going to be a very secure solution. Some of these things that you need to send out to people are going to obviously very secure. We don't want other people to be able to see each other's documents. We're setting the permissions as the workflow is run. So I think it's worth saying that's a quite secure solution. So I'm going to kick off this workflow, and what this is doing now is looking up that list, and it's going to be creating a document for each user. That's completed. We can see that we've got 5 forms, and that tallies with the 5 active users we've got in our list. Obviously you can scale this up to any kind of number. So if we go into the actual policy library, we can see that we've now got an individual document for each of these users. We've also pulled in the job title.
Worth saying, Dan, you're logged in as an administrator, so you see everyone, but if a user was to come to this list, they'd only see the forms for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what I've got a VM down here with one of our test users called Jeremy Finkman.
Okay.
I can just show you that. So let me just refresh this screen. Okay, you can see we're looking at the all documents view, but Jeremy can only see one document, and that's because we locked down the security with the workflow when we created these documents.
Nice.
Okay, so we've created these documents. So how are we actually going to assign this signature task for each of these documents to the end users? Well, what we've done there is we've created a workflow that runs on each document as it's added to the library. So you don't have to manually kick off these workflows. There's an automatic process in the background using Nintex workflows that's going to assign signature tasks for these users. So I'm just going to quickly show you the workflow we did to set that up. So if we go to workflow settings, we can manage workflows with Nintex workflow. And we can see that we've actually got another workflow here, so a digital signature workflow. I'm just going to open that up. And we can see that we've actually got some to-do tasks. What the connector for Nintex does, the cosign connector for Nintex, it allows us to actually assign specific cosign tasks to end users. So it's really quite simple once you've installed it. If I just open one of these up, we can see that there's a specific cosign workflow signature task content type. We select that, we choose who we assign it to, we can configure the task email notification, and the work's pretty much done. As you can see, that's quite a straightforward thing to set up. So in this particular example, when the document's created, we're going to assign a task to the end user, the employee. When they've completed their signature, we're going to then pass it on to the reporting officer for him to sign. So because this has been set to run automatically, all the workflows for this particular document have kicked off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back to Jeremy's screen. And we can see, if we go to the task list, he now has a new task assigned to him. So this is obviously where you could use an email, so we could also send an email to the end user. They can click on a link and it will fire up this task automatically. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to click on this. Okay, and what you're seeing here is this is the functionality we get with the cosign connector, well, the cosign application for SharePoint. So we can actually see a preview of the document. So we can click through, and this is all in the task. We don't actually have to go to the library and fire up the document. We can do it all within one window. So we can just flip between the pages, review the document. When we're happy, we can sign one of the two signature fields. Now, another thing we can do with the workflow is we can actually force the end user to sign one of the particular signature fields. So in this one, we only want them to sign the employee signature field. So if I click on the employee signature drop-down box, I can't select the reporting officer's signature, which I think is a really good task.
Make sure people sign the right box, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how often have you filled in a form on paper and signed in the wrong place, and yeah, it's a real pain.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sign this this task, and you can see how easy this is to do. I don't have to fire up any other applications. It's all in the same browser window. It's a totally integrated process. It's exactly what your end users want. They want it to be nice and simple. So I'm just going to click I confirm. Within the workflow, we can actually predefine some reasons. But for this, I've just typed it in. So let me put in user information. Okay, sorry, a long password, bear with me a second. Okay, so we put in the username and password, so we're just going to sign this. And what it's doing is pulling down the digital signature and stamping this document with our cosigned signature. So we can see that we've completed our task. If we go back to the policy library, we can see that the cosign fields have now been filled in. So we can see the last signature status, we can see the reason the person put on the form, and we can see a timestamp. And we can also see that it's now been assigned to the money laundering officer. So let's actually fire this up and have a quick look at the signature. So if I scroll right to the bottom, you can see that we've actually uploaded an image of Jeremy's signature. and we've stamped it with the time and date. If I click on cosign, we can actually go as far as viewing the certificate. So you can see that this is, as Ian said, this is not just an image stamped to a PDF, this is a proper secure digital certificate. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flip back to my screen. I've been set up in this demo as the reporting officer. So if we go back to the dashboard, I've got a sort of admin view, so I can see everything that's going on in the process. We can see that we've got four forms still awaiting employee input, but we've got one that's been assigned to the reporting officer. We can also see that he's been created a new task. So let's go through to the task list. So we can see that there's a check required by the reporting officer. I'm just going to fire this up. We can see the previous signature and the details. Some new functionality in the connector and cosign is that we can actually delegate this task if we wanted to. I've not done it for this demo, but the functionality is available. We can see again that I can't change the signature field. We have to sign the reporting officer's signature. So let's do that. Say that I've checked the document.
Very secure password there, Dan.
Yeah, it's a long one. Okay, there we go. So we've got two signatures on this document. If we go back to the library, we can actually see it's got a signature count column. That's one of the cosign columns, and we can see that the status of the workflow is complete. So that's done. That's how easy this process is to do digitally. If you imagine doing this by post, you know, minimum is you're looking at sort of 3 or 4 days just for the post to go back and forward, let alone having the time for someone to print it out, sign it, scan it, send it back. You know, it's done. Simple.
Yeah, you can just imagine if you were doing that for 1,000 people as well, and it's a 10-page document. That's 10,000 sheets of paper as well.
Exactly. What we showed here was quite a straightforward workflow, so we've only got 2 steps. You could build in all sorts of different branches and functionality in this. You could send it to different people for different departments. If you've got senior management, you could have extra levels of signatures required. You know, using the Nintex workflow, we could quite easily put reminders in, so we could say in 2 weeks, if this hasn't been signed, send an email to the user saying, chasing them. If they haven't done it in a further 2 weeks, let's look up their manager in Active Directory and let's escalate it to their manager. You know, with workflows, all these things are possible.
Yeah, with Nintex, it's very easy to configure it to your precise needs.
Exactly.
But as you said at the start as well, where are you getting that list of users from? You've got a lot of options there as well.
Yeah, you can use user profile service. Within Nintex, we can query AD using LDAP, or you can just maintain it as a list. So if you've got a list of users in a spreadsheet somewhere, using that datasheet view, you can quite easily copy and paste it into that list. So one other thing I'm just going to quickly show you is if we click on this document and say you have someone in who wants to verify that these have been signed, we can click on this cosign tab at the top and we can click review signatures, and you can see that we go straight to the screen where we get some useful information about the document. So we can see that it's a valid signature, and we can see that the content has not changed since it was signed. We can also go as far as looking at the timestamps, and we can fire up the certificate again. So you can see that this is you know, a very thorough process. If there's people in your company concerned about digital signatures and whether or not they're going to comply with their standards, I'd say the best question is to ask, you know, to engage with us, and you know, we can work through that with you. And because Ian showed you on that list, you know, it complies with an awful lot of standards, including US government standards, you know, so it's very secure.
Nice.
So one other thing I'm going to show you if we go back to this document and just check those two signatures, you can see that we've uploaded graphical signatures for both these users. It's quite a simple thing to do, so I'm just going to show you how easy that is to do. I've got another test user that I can use. I'm actually just going to log into the CoSign website using an imaginatively named test user called Joe Blogs.
I guess an interesting thing as well, Dan, is that that kind of handwritten style signature is actually not the most important aspect of the digital signature. It's put in there largely because that's what people expect to see. But really, the most important thing is the document's been signed with the digital certificate.
Yeah, exactly.
The image there is just a kind of, I don't know, just it's nice and people expect to see it, but it's not actually the most important aspect of the signature.
Okay, got the password right this time. Okay, so I can log into this CoSign portal, click on Joe Blogs and go to My Signatures. We can see that he's been assigned just a default signature using a particular signature font. What I want to do is I actually want to upload my signature. So I can call this Joe Blogs sig, and let's upload a file. I've got one on my desktop that I did earlier, so I just took a picture of my signature, cleaned it up a bit, and put it on my desktop. I'm going to save that, and we can see we've got Joe Blogs signature. If I delete the default signature, anytime we sign the document as Joe Blogs, it will now use this signature. Yeah, it's very simple and straightforward process.
This is something you do once, right, Dan?
Yeah,
to get your signature into the system, and from then on it will always use that signature.
Yeah, and you can see that everything we've done so far has been in the browser, so you don't have to install software on everyone's machine. This has been a very straightforward process.
I noticed there's the sketch button there as well, so if you were on a tablet or similar, you could actually just sketch it in with your finger or a stylus or something like that.
Yeah, I tried it with a mouse and it was not easy.
Yeah,
so,
writing signatures with the mouse just doesn't work. I've tried that, yeah.
So one other thing I'd like to show you, if we go back to our list, I've been assigned a task because I'm an employee as well, so as well as being the reporting officer, I'm an employee. I'm just going to show you that you can sign these things on mobile devices. This site is available externally, and I'm just going to see if I can share my screen using my mobile. Bear with me a second. Just make sure. I'm using a program called Air Server. Okay, let me just fire this up. And this basically allows me to mirror my screen. So what you can see here is we've got an external facing website, and you can see we've got a SharePoint site available in the mobile browser. This is on an iPhone, but obviously you can do this on an Android and any other device with a fully functional browser. I'm going to click on our task list. Because I'm doing this on a Windows, on a iPhone, the screen isn't all that big, but it will show you anyway if you had a tablet.
Yeah, it's coming through fine, Dan. You can see it fine.
Let's just fire up this task. And this is great if you've got people out and about on the move, because they can actually review the document within the task as well. You can see that the actual document viewer pane works, no problem.
Pretty extreme doing it on an iPhone, but you can imagine if you're on an iPad or something, just had a bit more real estate there, this would be pretty serviceable.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to sign this document.
We wanted to show that even on an iPad it works. iPhone it works fine.
Exactly. 1 second. So if I've saved my password correctly. And when it's done, it should put me back to the task list, and we should see that it's complete. And there we go. My signature is 100% complete, and you can also see it's assigned me a task to check it. Obviously, you wouldn't do that in the real world, but for the purpose of this demo, it works. So if we go back to the home page, you can see that there's 1 complete, 1 assigned to the reporting officer, and 3 still awaiting progress. So that is effectively the demo. You can see how straightforward it is to set up. You can scale this out to any number of users. This was very easy to set up. You can set this up in half a day to a day, no code. I just think it's a really great solution.
Certainly very powerful, and if you think you did all of that in a day, then you can see the kind of speed with which you can put these solutions together.
Exactly.
And I guess because there's no code as well, Dan, if you need to make changes in the future, you're not looking at weeks or months of development effort. It's just a matter of going in and tweaking the workflows.
Yeah, I mean, what we could do is we could set this up for someone so that you could have, it could be fully administered by an end user. So you could effectively have lots of different lists for the policy documents, and then in here you could save all the templates, and you could add fields for the email body, the email text, the task assignment, and you could actually maintain a whole system from a list. So you could have the workflow look up data within the list for the various different text and information. So you could build some quite complex systems that will allow you to manage all your signing processes.
Make it configure it to whatever your needs really are. So it's coming back to flexibility again of the Nintex solution, which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my demo. I hope it gave you a good flavour of what's possible.
It's very nice. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, and if you want to work out how much printing is saving you, you can always go to our blog post and look at the calendar.
Yeah, and we'll give people a link for that at the end.
Yeah.
So that's great. So hopefully my screen is now visible again.
Yep, I can see that.
Make sure I'm showing the right one. Okay. Great. So thanks for that demo, Dan. I'm just going to wrap up now with a quick summary, and I just wanted to finish off by saying that summarising in why this technology might be of interest. I think for lots of organisations, the ROI, the ease with which it can be done, the maturity of the technologies and the simplicity of their use make it a no-brainer. But a couple of points we've captured on this slide deck here. So why deploy digital signatures? I think, as we've already seen, is that you can digitally sign your documents in seconds, and you can do that on multiple devices, as nicely demonstrated by Dan signing a document in SharePoint on his iPhone. So no more printing, scanning, signing, scanning back in, emailing. The digital signatures, they're secure and they're legally enforceable. They're actually more secure than actually a wet ink signature, because the only person who's got access to that certificate to sign documents is the end user. The digital signature solution that we've looked at, it works with documents of various formats, whether it's Office documents, PDF or other document formats. And also, as we've already seen, you can use real signatures. So in terms of cultural acceptance, it's there because people are seeing the signature, the wet signature that they expect to see on the documents. That's embedded as part of the digital signature solution. One of the other things that I hope we've conveyed today, and that Dan certainly demonstrated very nicely, is that we can incorporate the digital signature technology into business processes with automated workflows using tools like Nintex. And hopefully we've given you a flavour of just how easy that is to do and how well those two tools sit together. And lastly, comes back to it again, but it's a nice solution from a tangible ROI point of view. And as Dan's already shown, we've got that cost calculator which you can use to help build a business case. So we'll be moving on to questions in a minute. I just want to summarise by reiterating what we've looked at today. 3 things we're demonstrating here. We're automating our business processes, we're including digital signatures in those processes, and we're doing it in a no-code way, which enables us to do it quickly and effectively and at low cost. So I hope you very much enjoyed the webinar today. Our contact details are on the screen here. Very happy to take calls or emails from anyone if you've got any questions or will need any more information after this webinar. There's a link to the cost calculator here as well, but we'll be sending that out along with the recording after the webinar. So I'd like to thank Dan for his time in terms of doing the demo as well. Excellent demo, Dan. And now we're free to take some questions. So our first question is, do I need to install anything at all on my desktops to be able to use the digital signatures? I'll take that one, Dan. You can chip in. The answer is no, you don't have to. But if you want to sign documents that are outside of SharePoint, say for example you've just got a document that's on your local machine, then you would have you can optionally install tools that will allow you to sign documents locally.
Yeah, and that can be documents that don't have predefined signature fields set up, so you can actually create them using the tool. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. If you wanted to add the signature fields to the documents, then yes. In terms of creating those signature fields, you'd need a tool to do that. So the person assembling the documents would need that, but the people signing it do not.
Yeah, and you can use the local app to create your signature files if you didn't want to do it via the website as well.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The next question I've been asked is, we said this solution took you a day to put together, but how much training and skill do you need to be able to do that?
Not very much at all, actually. I didn't have too much experience.
Yeah, Dan can do it. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'd say if you're familiar with SharePoint and you've done any work with any kind of workflow technology, you can put something together like this very easy with the Nintex Workflow Designer. It's a very visual graphical interface, and with Cosign, they've done a lot of the hard work for you. To be honest, they've got some good documentation out there to help you through the process. We got it set up, very very easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I would say as well there is that the thing I often say to people is, if you're a competent user of Excel, then you'll find this kind of technology quite easy as a guideline. I think that's the kind of level that you need to be at. Another question is, the solution seems to be heavily reliant on SharePoint. What features are available to a non-SharePoint deployment? So the workflow that we've demonstrated in this scenario is Nintex workflow, and it's actually the Nintex workflow that's dependent upon SharePoint. The digital signatures solution that will stand completely happily on its own with deployment to desktop machines, or there are also some web services from ARX that are available as well. So we've used SharePoint because we wanted to demonstrate the Nintex workflow aspects of things. If you wanted perhaps to have workflows not use SharePoint, then there'd be an option to use a tool like K2. If you just wanted to sign documents without using SharePoint and having the workflow processes, then ARX can certainly achieve that for you. Ronan, I don't know if you want to come in at this point and add anything on that question.
Yeah, so actually as a digital signature software vendor, we embed our signature engine in a number of different enterprise content management platforms. I should add that about 50% of our enterprise projects involve SharePoint, which is particularly the focus of today's webinar as well. But we do also support many other platforms as well, like OpenText, Oracle, Alfresco, and many others.
Thanks, Ronan. So, James, in answer to your second question, can we still use Active Directory lookup, etc.? The answer is yes, absolutely. We could use Active Directory lookup even with either within the Nintex SharePoint type solution that we've demonstrated today, or if you wanted to do that outside of SharePoint, then you'd have the option to do that using perhaps another workflow tool. Where are the Cosign servers based geographically? I.e. data protection. So you have a choice there, Andrew. The Cosign servers can be located on-premise if you want to keep everything on-premise, or there's also a cloud-based service available from ARX as well. I think what's interesting to be aware of, even if you use the cloud service for signing your documents and their content still remain entirely on-premise. So even with the cloud service, the only thing that gets sent to the servers for the digital signature is a hash of the document, and it's actually the hash that is signed. So your documents and their contents never leave your on-premise servers, even if you use a cloud-based signing service. However, you do have the option as well to have an on-premise signature solution as well, should you prefer that. Okay. Do we have any more questions? I think we're done on questions, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So if anyone does have any more questions that you think of afterwards, please do contact myself on the email address below or the phone number. Very happy to speak to you. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar today and found it informative. And thanks again to Dan for his demo and to Ronan for coming on from ARX as well. So hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you at one of our future webinars. Thank you guys. Bye.